The shocking truth at Dennis Hopper's funeral you never heard. When Easy Rider made movie history, Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda seemed like brothers bound by destiny. But their friendship crashed into a bitter feud so toxic that Hopper, with his dying breath, banned Fonda from his funeral, in a final act of defiance, or perhaps devotion. Fonda appeared at the service anyway, only to face an unsettling twist that haunted him until his own final days. Dennis Hopper didn't just act the part of a counterculture rebel in Easy Rider. He actually lived it. From wild parties to explosive on-set clashes, Hopper's life was as chaotic and intense as the characters he portrayed. He skyrocketed to fame in the anything-goes era of free love. But he pushed boundaries even further than most, living a life full of risk and rebellion that took a major toll. Growing up as the son of a post office manager, Dennis Hopper may have had humble beginnings, but they were far from innocent. Born in Dodge City, Kansas, a former Old West town once famous for its saloons, gambling dens, and bordellos, where Hopper was surrounded by an outlaw spirit that seemed to shape him from a young age. It didn't take long before he began stirring up his own trouble. By his late teens, Dennis Hopper knew he wanted to be an actor, and he had the nerve to pursue it with everything he had. His boldness helped him make an unforgettable impression during an audition for a TV show called Medic. As soon as he walked into the casting director's office, Hopper took a daring approach. Right in the middle of their conversation, he suddenly collapsed to the floor, seemingly in the throes of a seizure. But he wasn't. His act was so believable that, just as the casting director was reaching for the phone to call for help, Hopper sprang to his feet, perfectly fine. Impressed, the casting director told the rest of the hopefuls they could all go home. Hopper had already won the part. Soon after, Hopper landed a small role in the iconic James Dean film Rebel Without a Cause. Since the female lead hadn't been cast yet and the director, Nicholas Ray, didn't want to inconvenience Dean, Hopper got to screen test with some of Hollywood's hottest young actresses, and with one in particular, the chemistry was electric. In the 1950s, it was rare for a woman to make the first move, unless her name was Natalie Wood. The day after their screen test together, the bold 16-year-old gave Hopper a call. Wasting no time, she told him directly that she found him attractive and would like to spend the night with him. Hopper's promising career began to unravel just as it was taking off. After working with James Dean, he took the lead role in From Hell to Texas, where he fiercely clashed with director Henry Hathaway. At one point, Hopper insisted on reshooting a single scene more than 80 times before finally executing it as Hathaway wanted. By the end of filming, he had attempted to leave the project 3 times and was causing significant trouble behind the scenes. Unfortunately, these conflicts overshadowed his talent and hindered his rising trajectory in the industry. On the set of From Hell to Texas, Hopper's devil-may-care attitude took a risky turn when he started an affair with his married co-star, Diane Varsi. One day, while they were spending time together, her husband burst in, erupting in fury. In the heat of the moment, he attacked Hopper with a chair. Hopper, likely caught off guard and possibly undressed, tried to defend himself but walked away battered and bruised. As tensions hit a peak, the director approached Hopper and delivered a chilling line. "Kid, there's one thing I can promise you. You'll never work in this town again." Hopper was always full of surprises, and his next move was no exception. Though settling down didn't seem to be in his vocabulary. That all changed when he met actress Brooke Hayward during a Broadway production. She was a sophisticated former debutante and childhood friend of Jane Fonda. He was a rebellious bad boy from Kansas. Yet, the unlikely pair bonded over their shared bohemian, artsy outlook. After just a few months, they decided to make it official. Hopper's wild reputation had preceded him, and Brooke's father, Leland, an industry heavyweight, was furious about the wedding plans. Defying him, the couple eloped, opting for a quick ceremony without a formal reception. Dennis Hopper appeared an unlikely candidate for marriage, particularly at the onset of the swinging 60s. Even after becoming a father with Brooke Hayward, his wild ways showed no signs of slowing. One night, after Hayward had put the children to bed and was settling down with a book, Hopper unexpectedly arrived at their bedroom door, accompanied by Jane Fonda and her husband, Roger Vadim. He proposed a spontaneous group activity, much to Hayward's shock and anger. Outraged, she yelled for everyone to leave immediately. Hopper and Hayward's Hollywood Hills home became the pulse of Los Angeles counterculture scene, a lively, substance-fueled hub where the spirit of the swinging 60s was on full display. Their living room regularly hosted bikers, Black Panthers, artists, rock stars, and writers, embodying a mix of artistic rebellion and social upheaval. This atmosphere of creative chaos laid the foundation for what would become Hopper's career-defining masterpiece, Easy Rider. Mornings after Hopper's wild parties were scenes of mayhem, often witnessed by children. One morning, Hopper's 5-year-old daughter woke to find a group of Hell's Angels sprawled across 20 sleeping bags in their living room. Hopper was deeply entrenched in mind-altering substances and drinking heavily. His stepson later recalled that Hopper reeked of booze morning and night. While hippies were supposed to embody peace and love, someone forgot to tell Dennis Hopper. He began hitting his wife and carried a revolver everywhere he went. His fascination with firearms escalated into an obsession, and his stepson spent much of his childhood hiding in closets to escape the tension. While all this was going on, Hopper was working on what would become his magnum opus, the countercultural film Easy Rider.
You're stoned out of your mind, man. Oh yeah, man, hey, like I'm stoned, you know, man?
Even before filming Easy Rider began, Hopper was already stirring up trouble. Originally, Rip Torn was cast as George Hansen, but after a heated pre-production meeting where Hopper allegedly pulled a knife on him, Torn left the project. This turned out to be a stroke of luck, as a then-unknown Jack Nicholson stepped into the role, setting the stage for a memorable performance. However, Nicholson's presence did little to temper the chaotic energy once filming began. Hopper and his co-stars, Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson, fully embraced Easy Rider's counterculture vibe, blurring the line between fiction and reality. Many of the substance scenes were entirely real, with the actors embodying their characters' rebellious actions both on and off screen. This commitment often led to on-set clashes, especially between Fonda and Hopper. Ultimately, the film became a groundbreaking success, cementing Hopper as the original indie icon. As the wild 60s drew to a close, so did Hopper's marriage to Hayward. One night, he came home and, in front of their children, threatened Hayward's life if she didn't feed him. At her breaking point, Hayward took the children, left, and swiftly filed for a restraining order and divorce. Just months after his divorce, Hopper remarried Michelle Phillips of the folk rock group The Mamas and the Papas. On their wedding night, Hopper indulged in so many mind-altering substances that he didn't recognize his new wife the next morning. Their whirlwind marriage lasted only 8 days before it swiftly unraveled. After the success of Easy Rider, Dennis Hopper finally had the chance to direct his passion project, The Last Movie, backed by a $1 million budget. However, the production quickly descended into chaos, almost living up to its ominous title. Filmed in Peru, a location abundant with available substances, the shoot went off the rails as Hopper's creative process became heavily influenced by drug use. In an attempt to capitalize on the burgeoning cinematic new wave, documentary filmmakers released The American Dreamer. This film unveiled Hopper's tumultuous and substance-fueled journey while making The Last Movie, spotlighting his unhealthy obsession with weaponry, and even capturing him frolicking in the nude. But Hopper's life wasn't just about seeking pleasure. There were clear signs of a deeper, possibly self-destructive streak. Can you imagine the intensity and turmoil behind such a legendary creative force? In 1983, Hopper proved he was even wilder than his on-screen characters with his infamous Russian dynamite death chair stunt. As the name suggests, the act involved sitting on dynamite and setting it off to draw a crowd to this dangerous spectacle. Hopper advertised it as a movie screening, then loaded the unsuspecting audience onto school buses and drove them to a racetrack where he was preparing for the stunt. Miraculously, he survived, and the explosive feat was even caught on film. In 1983, the same year he pulled off his little dynamite stunt, Dennis Hopper was also cast in The Jungle Warriors. But let's just say things didn't go as planned. Soon after filming started, he was caught wandering completely naked through a small Mexican village near the set. Hopper later confessed that he was in such a daze that he didn't even remember being detained by officers, or for that matter, getting fired. It was a moment that clearly showed he needed help, but as he headed home, things only spiraled further. After Hopper's chaotic firing, the Jungle Warriors producers wasted no time putting him on a plane home, likely breathing a huge sigh of relief. But it turned out to be a bit premature. Mid-flight, Hopper caused quite a scene, attempting to climb out onto the plane's wing. According to him, it wasn't just his state of mind, it was the substances others gave him to help him come down. That led to his wild behavior. He even claimed that this medicine temporarily gave him Parkinson's-like symptoms. Nonetheless, it was rock bottom, and he gave up drinking in 1983.
Who are you?
Because I haven't learned my lines yet.
I know you've had him for...
Hopper's love life was as intense and unpredictable as his career. He had 2 more short-lived marriages with actresses Daria Halpern and Catherine Lanasa, with each marriage bringing a new child into his life. Then, in 1996, he married Victoria Duffy, and it seemed like he'd finally found lasting happiness. For over a decade, Hopper and Duffy shared a version of domestic bliss, welcoming a daughter in 2003. But just when it all seemed like a fairy tale, their relationship took a heartbreaking turn. In 2009, Dennis Hopper received a devastating diagnosis. He had prostate cancer, and it spread aggressively to his bones. By the following year, he was down to just 100 pounds, and so weak that chemotherapy was no longer an option. Knowing he likely only had weeks left, Hopper took some final, shocking steps. One of his last acts was to limit his wife Victoria Duffy's inheritance, ban her from contesting his will, and even attempt to evict her from their beach house. Although they'd been married for 14 years, Hopper alleged outrageous conduct on her part, even calling her insane, inhuman, and volatile. The relationship had become so explosive that he filed for both divorce and a restraining order. Just months before his passing, Dennis Hopper's legendary career was celebrated in a deeply moving ceremony as he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Frail but full of gratitude, Hopper addressed the crowd with a humble, "This means so much to me, and thank you very much, everyone." The moment was bittersweet, as friends, family, and fans gathered around the beloved actor, who had brought so many iconic characters to life. Leave a comment with the number 1 if you agree with our opinion. Though Dennis Hopper was known for his wild, unpredictable nature, his legacy endures through an impressive filmography of over 100 movies. Despite his passing in May 2010, the complexity of his life and career still fascinates fans. One unresolved chapter: his falling out with Easy Rider co-star Peter Fonda. The two famously clashed throughout filming, and afterward, Hopper even attempted to cut Fonda out of his residual earnings from the movie. It's a striking example of just how fiercely Hopper held on to his grudges. In his final days, Dennis Hopper's fierce personality showed no signs of mellowing. Remarkably, he made it clear he didn't want Easy Rider co-star Peter Fonda at his funeral. Ever loyal, Fonda showed up anyway, only to be turned away by Hopper's family, a testament to how Hopper could still stir up drama from beyond the grave. As if that weren't enough, Hopper's bitter split from his wife, Victoria, carried on even after his passing. He banned her from his funeral but asked for their daughter, Galen, to be there. Victoria, however, allegedly retaliated by preventing Galen from attending. using her as a pawn in this unusual posthumous feud. Can you believe the level of loyalty and intensity involved here? It seems that even death couldn't settle old scores for Dennis Hopper. In a legendary tale that captures Hopper's chaotic spirit, it's said that shortly after Easy Rider, he once snorted a mysterious powder from a gold dish during an executive meeting, only to find out it was the ashes of an executive's late wife. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more fascinating stories.